Another defense witness concludes his testimony, paving the way for a new one to take the stand. Hello and welcome to this edition of Inside the Courtroom, the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial wrap. I'm your host, Gininda. Now, we're coming to you live from our Randburg studios, bringing you what will be a quick roundup of what happened at the Pretoria High Court this week. I'll be joined by our two guests, that is Melusi Xulu as well as Mpumelelo Zigalala, to unpack this week's evidence. But first, you can interact with us live by voting on the poll question that we have for you this week, and that is the version of Absalom Zungu. The man allegedly gave a statement implicating accused number 1 and 2 as possible suspects. Had his version tested this week, so we're asking you if you think Zungu's testimony casts doubt on investigating officer Brigadier Bongani Gininda's version. And the options that you have there are: it casts doubt on Gininda, the second one being Zungu is misleading the court, and the third one being I do not know who to believe. So make sure to vote using the QR code on your screen. You can also send us your WhatsApp messages and interact with us on our social media platforms. That's at Newzroom 405. Now let's get to it. Absalom Zungu continues to deny ever making a statement that implicated accused number 1 and 2 as possible suspects, stressing if that was the case, he should have been called to testify. He labels Gininda's testimony as an incitement of violence.
I was very hurt with what Gininda said before this court, mentioning my name in such a serious matter. And furthermore, to say that whatever that he said, the witness has pointed to the directions or the direction of the accused doc, saying that these are different people from different villages or areas in the homelands, except for this one that is seated on the far left from Mahlabathini. And Gininda, what he did by mentioning my name, he was inciting violence in a sense that people would die. Not only these accused will fight amongst themselves or fight with me or think that I'm the one that implicated them, but he's also inciting violence.
Let's bring in our guests now, Melusi Xulu and Mpumelelo Zigalala. Mpumelelo, I'll start with you. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us. There seems to be an agreement that this statement, is hearsay, but it seems that different interpretations, because according to Gininda, he says this was a mere lead, but Zungu believes that this statement is the reason why there's even a case today.
Good evening to you, and also good evening to Undonda and the viewers. Now, you see, it's going to matter the most as to what happens in court. That's the person that you need to persuade, which is the judge. So it doesn't matter how the information came about. What matters the most is that what do we deliver when we are presenting our case as a prosecution. Now, in this case, he may have assisted the police in bringing them a good lead. But in terms of the collection of the information, that's what matters the most. And what will further matter the most is how many people were found in the house. Is there something which links them into the house? For example, fingerprints, cell phone records. Is there communication of them all in terms of communicating as to how this whole process would move about? That's what's going to matter the most rather than anything else.
Melusi Xulu, we've heard what Mpumelelo Zigalala had to say about the statement, but I wonder if there's too much weight really being put on the statement, because, again, all parties are agreeing this is hearsay.
Good afternoon to Linda and to Babu Zigalala and to the viewers at home. Yes, at the end of the day, I've always stressed, and we know, that the important thing is that the state must prove its case beyond reasonable doubt and must look at the evidence that is in the house, what happened, who saw what. Those are the major important things. But how the state got its breakthrough, that statement is only important if it really links directly the accused in this case. But however, we do see that Ubabu Manzini is just refusing to, he's disputing that he ever made the statement. So the relevance of it is not that much, but what is important are those people who are in the house. So we always stress that that's what we need to look at. But obviously, the judge will look at all the evidence holistically and make a decision at the end of the day.
Gentlemen, hang 10 because I want us to go to the next bite because Zungu denies that he signed a statement and shows what he says is an ID number that is different from his in the statement. Take a look.
With reference to Exhibit Triple U,
Yes.
that is the identity number that is reflected there. Your identity number is not 580214558082.
Manje ke lesi kunesi statement la babunquma lo athi ke uthanda ukuthi sisibheke. Manje kulesi statement ke kuqukethwe iID number. Manje le ID number le uyayifunda ukuthi ke i580214558082 ayifanani nale.
Engiyazi shoda qiniseka bese ayifanani.
Yes, you are correct. They are not the same.
According to Zungu's alleged statement, it was during a sibling rivalry involving Ntanzi and one of his brothers that his alleged involvement in the murder of Senzo Meyiwa came out. But Zungu had allegedly heard from one of their other brothers, Mbhekiseni. He distances himself from these details, but the defense lawyers also turned to the relationship with the second accused, exploring the links between Ntanzi and Zungu.
He is born from my cousin. And the cousin whom is born from my uncle. From the Ntanzi family where I'm born. Meaning that when I'm at the Ntanzis, it would be the same as at home at my own family, in Zungu family. As and when he refers to me, he would refer to me as father because she's born, is my cousin's child.
Melissa Xulu, how should the court read the issue of the ID numbers? Because, the allegation is that his personal details are contained there, but he says the ID numbers that are there really are not his. They're slightly different to what his ID numbers are. Is this an important factor?
Well, I think as far as he's disputing that he made a statement, it might then show that maybe when whoever was making the statement might have missed that. I'm not really sure. But what he's stating is that he didn't make the statement. And then when you look at the statement, there's an ID number that does not belong to him. So it shows that he might have not made the statement. But I'm curious to what will be if there is a chance of a response by Brigadier Gininda on this, because it's obvious that he's disputing making the statement, and the important part is he refuses to acknowledge that he made the statement, and surprisingly or somehow the ID number is the wrong ID number. So it's really strange, and I think in a certain way, I don't know how it can be done, but I would really love Brigadier to respond to this so that we can have clarity.
A response would that be practical? Because, the issue around the details are important because during cross-examination, the state keeps saying, Brigadier Bongani Gininda wouldn't have known all of these details had you not given him.
Well, I think we must look at it in a number of ways. Firstly, let's look at the probable value of saying, did he provide the evidence, yes or no? And the second assessment would be, even without his statement, would it suffice? Now, he wasn't provided by the state, so it's not the state who's relying on him. So whether his evidence is there or not there, it doesn't absolve the 5 accused that are in the witness box. In fact, what it does indirectly, it goes and supports what the state is saying in terms of saying all the 5 individuals that are here have one sort of relation to another in one way or another. So whether they are friends or they are relatives, at the end of the day, there's some connection that is there. So he may have been given or called by the defense, but indirectly is bolstering what the state has been saying all along to say, you know each other, there's contact that has taken place, so there's no way in which we wouldn't have concocted all these things when there are other circumstantial evidence and other evidence which supports what you are saying. So there are a number of reasons that would state why a statement would be written wrongly. It happens all the time. Even in this case, there are a number of instances where witnesses will come to the box and say, what is written there is not what I meant to state. And it's the ability or the truth of the court to then say, how much weight are you going to weigh all of this? But I think what the court is doing now is saying, I'm going to take all the information that is there and make it admissible. However, the way in which I'm going to add weight into different elements in which we're stating about and linking it to other evidence that has been led here is going to be a bit different. It may be that he may have came in as the defense's witness. However, when you really look at it, he's bolstering the state's case.
And I mean, the issue around the relationships that we heard in that bite, he says, Ntanzi is indeed a relative. He is the son of his cousin, which then indicates there is a level of relationship even between his son, Constable Senzo Zungu, and Bongani Ntanzi. Now, how should the court read this? Because, again, there is a mention of Ntanzi's brother, who's Mbhekiseni, who is somebody that Zungu himself said, when my son came to me, I asked Mbhekiseni to go and fetch him. Would this then still fall within the knowledge of Absalom Zungu to say, only you could have given this information because here you are, saying that you even know this Mbhekiseni Ntanzi that is in the statement?
Well, it may be. However, if it wasn't stated through by the state and not tested through cross-examination, then the court maybe would really just take notice of it but not attach any weight. But again, it depends on how that information is going to link all together. But we must also look at the bigger picture or the end of, or the goals or the objective of each party here. The state is simply saying, you know each other, you've been in contact, which is what has been supported by what is being stated now. When you came to court, you stated that you did not know each other. During cross-examination, again, you denied any links to each other. And yet now, as we move along, we then discover that not only do you know each other in terms of being friends or being acquaintances, in fact, the relationship is much deeper than that. So why are we misleading the court? And then it places the credibility of the witnesses in jeopardy. So it's only now when the cross-examination is going to come from the defense, in which they should go and absolve themselves to say, we do not know each other, so that they stick to what they stated when they started this trial. And let's find another explanation to say, why didn't you say that you knew each other in a way in which we know now, when instead of waiting up until you do it at a later stage? So when assessing the evidence that has been provided to you as the judge, you then say, is it something which is probable? Can it happen in the ordinary course of business? Yes, it can. How truthful is this? Let me then attach weight. How does it link to all the other elements that are there? Remember, there's a very strict compliance in terms of the elements that have to be there. If I can be able to link it, I'm going to consider it and consider it in this overall scheme of things when making an assessment whether the 5 accused are guilty or not.
And when you talk about the analysis, I want to come to you, Melusi Xulu. The court will obviously weigh everything, right, once the case is done and analyze the evidence that has been given. What do you think, how critical is Zungu's statement, particularly when it comes to relationships with the other accused, and in relation specifically to, the denials around the evidence that was given by his son, Constable Senzo Zungu?
Yes, firstly on the relationships, I think it's a major concern because, when you are preparing to, have your witness come and testify on behalf of your client, you obviously want to make sure that it goes hand in hand with the version of the accused. So if the accused has denied knowing a certain witness that was used by the state, but then your witness comes and says, actually, there's a relation, not just a relation, but they are relatives. It kind of, brings the defense case into a difficult position. So I think that is something that I don't know how it will be addressed on the heads of argument when they're arguing, but it makes it look as if the possibility of conspiring and knowing each other as amongst the accused, as Zigalala correctly said, when they first started appearing, they say they don't know each other, only to find that in fact they are not only related, but they're coming from the same village, where some of them or most of them, I believe, accused 1, 2, and 5, to a certain extent. So I think that for me is a huge concern, because when you're preparing your case, you want to make sure that when you are putting a version, you'll be able to stand on that version. But when you bring a witness on your behalf who supports a state's position, it doesn't make it a good position for you as the accused.
Interesting comment there, Melusipolo, hang 10. And I want us to come to this because we're still tracking those votes, on our poll question today. So make sure that you make your voices heard. And the question is, what do you think about Absalom Zungu's testimony? 1, it casts doubt on Gininda. 29% of you have voted. And then second, Zungu is misleading the court. 64% of you have voted for that one. And the last one being both are hard to believe. That's 7%. So make sure that you vote using the QR code on your screen. We'll continue to track those results throughout the show. But when we return, we delve into the cross-examination by the state. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're still watching a quick roundup of the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial, looking into the testimony of Absalom Zungu. This is the man who allegedly deposed a statement that gave police a lead, implicating accused number 1 and 2 as possible suspects. Now, in July this year, Zungu said he deposed a statement at the Newcastle police station after being disgruntled about Gininda's testimony. But the state wants to know why it took so long.
Brigadier Gininda testified for the first time in this court around the 27th of November 2023, and referred to your name during his testimony. However, Exhibit U in brackets 1, the statement that you made at Newcastle Police Station is only dated 8 July 2025. So in other words, you waited from 2023, November 2023, until this date that is mentioned in your statement, 8 July 2025, to give a version. Now, the question is this: if you were so aggrieved as you have mentioned, why did you wait this long?
I don't understand the question. Are you saying why I waited?
Yes. Why did you wait that length of time?
What was I supposed to do?
Now, the state also wanted to know if this was the first step he took.
Was the statement that you made on the 8th of July 2025 the first formal step that you took to give a version?
What made me to go to the police is that I got information from these people from TikTok, so that I wanted the court to be made aware that I want the court to call me. And I'm available, I'm not in hiding, but the only thing is that I'm not getting an opportunity to be called by the court.
So the state wanting to know why it took him so long to, give that statement if he was so disgruntled. And I remember the defense objecting to that question, saying there is no prescription or prescribed time period or time frame in law that says if you're disgruntled, you can come at a particular time. Mpumelelo, does the defense have a point here?
No, not really. I think that should be more or less a state or something that you state in argument. At the end of the day, the witness has got to answer. You may find that there's plausible reasons of saying, yes, I waited for a while. I didn't know what to do. Not everyone is a legal fundi, or is a person who was trained in terms of how statements are supposed to be given. You may find that they may thought maybe the police was going to contact him, may thought that the court was going to contact him. But it doesn't really sort of displaces or makes whatever statement that is made something that can't be accepted by the court. And there are a number of reasons that would can cause someone not to follow the normal course route. In fact, the dates in which have been mentioned there could be something that can be used by the defense to say, can you please call Mr. Gininda back for cross-examination on only this aspect, or only. At the time in which we're doing our cross-examination, we had no knowledge of such, and we think that it's going to assist this court if he's able to answer on this. So that can be the back door in which they can be able to get in terms of starting the cross-examination again only on this aspect. But what will matter the most is, when did you know about this statement? Did you know it while the state was still in his case? If that was the case, why didn't you request it much earlier? Give substantive reasons as to why. But taking into account how the judge has been dealing with this matter, I do not think he's the one individual that would deny that request by the defense. He would certainly say, I want everything to be ventilated in this case. Call Mr. Gininda back so that he can be able to answer this question about the misstatement.
And it's interesting because the issue around the statement comes, at a time and when he's asked if this was the first step he took in displaying perhaps that he was disgruntled, then he mentions unidentified people from a social media platform called TikTok. Could the court read this as something that was influenced by other parties, external parties, this statement?
It would depend on what is written on the statement. If it's got something to do about things which are not within his personal knowledge, maybe they can think of that. However, if it's something totally different, it's something which maybe from that particular social media platform, then would see that there's been influence of it, then they can come and arrive at that conclusion. But that's the basis and why we have cross-examination and re-examination, to try and extract the truth and motive behind why did you wait so long in order for you to write an affidavit? After writing that affidavit, what did you hope was going to happen?
Melusi, let's come back to the issue of relationships. Now, we know that according to Muzisibia, Nkazimulo is somebody that he knows, and the testimony of Constable Senzo Zungu was to the effect that a day after his father deposed this statement, he received threats. There were attempts on his life by this Nkazimulo, and his response was, Nkazimulo is an employed person, does not hold guns, but he is a relative